to see what it is, and I'm excited.
What is it?
Ooh.
You're gonna have to put some of these reactions at the beginning of the video.
Oh, just like as a teaser?
Yeah.
You're like,
Ooh, what's that?
What's in the box? So today I have a very special guest with me. I have my girlfriend, Stacey, all the way from Canada.
Hey.
And today we have a very special video. We are taking part in the traveling book box, which we're doing with a lot of people on my Discord and other people's Discords. And yeah, it was Patrick Ryan sent it first, right? Mm-hmm. And he sent it to Pete from Ponderings of Pete, who happens to live like 15 minutes down the road. And we just had dinner with him the other night. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good to meet you, Pete.
And after we ate dinner with Pete, he gave us the box. So now we're gonna crack it open and see what's inside.
I'm excited.
Yes, both very excited. All right, Stacey, you can do the honors.
All right, let's go for it. Hopefully I don't cut you.
Oh, Lord.
You'll be fine.
You're cutting towards me, babe.
You'll be fine. How much do you trust me?
I trust you.
Oh boy.
Decent amount of tape.
Who packed this?
I tried to peek in the box earlier, but she wouldn't let me.
No, absolutely not. No peeking.
Come on. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh boy.
There's a lot of books. All right.
We opened it upside down, didn't we? Because now
Oh,
it's...
wait.
Or
Well,
maybe it was supposed to be that way.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's all a surprise.
It's better to pack the books that way. Pages are up.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Let's see what we've got.
Okay. First book is The Beast's Heart by an author that I've never heard of, Leaf Shallcross. I know nothing about this. Do you know anything?
No. If I had to guess, I would say it's a fairy tale retelling.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it has a Disney castle.
Yeah. It says a novel of Beauty and the Beast. So, probably a fairy tale retelling, right?
Yep. I would guess. Okay.
Probably.
It's an option.
Probably not something I would pick, but
no.
Maybe up your alley.
Or Sharon.
Or Sharon, yep.
So next up we have My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Bachman. So this is something I'm probably going to be interested in. I've read a few Bachman books, but not this one, and I've really enjoyed them. My favorite being Beartown.
Nice. And the next book is, The Summer Tree by Guy Gabriel Kay. I have never read Guy Gabriel Kay, but I've heard...
Me either.
I've heard interesting things about him, that it's not really plot driven, it's more like lyrical writing and interesting character work. And this is one of, I believe it's one of his first ones. It's very short, which I think Tagana is supposed to be a little longer, but I might be interested in reading like a short one of his books. I don't know.
Test out the prose and see how you feel.
Yeah. Solid.
Okay, we've got The Last Dragon Lord by Joanne Burton. I have never heard of this. What about you?
I've never heard. It just looks like an old fantasy book.
Yeah.
Anything on the back? An Evil Returns.
And there's a fellowship.
Oh yeah, it says fellowship like 6 times on here.
Tolkien inspired, I guess.
That would be my best guess. My best guess. Yeah, I don't read a whole lot of like classic fantasy.
Me either. I kind of think it kind of depends on the classic. Like, I think a lot of them, or in my experience, a lot of the ones I've read seem to focus a lot more on describing the world or the world building.
Yeah, whereas
which isn't really my cup of tea.
Yeah, you like a lot of more modern books where it's more plot heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta be entertained.
Yeah. And this one, that's The Dark That Dwells. I already own this book, so
I don't.
You don't own it. That might be something you're interested in. Oh, it's by Matt Digman and Ryan Roddy. Roddy. Sorry, babe. We'll keep that in. But yeah, I actually won this from I was the first winner for Guess the Books over on Widgerly's Discord, and Patrick sent me this as a prize, so I actually own this book, but you do not.
I do not, and I'm interested in reading it for sure. Next up we have, it's stuck in the box. Oh, Never by Ken Follett. I've heard of this author, but not this particular book. I'm thinking like Fall of Giants or Plague of Giants or whatever that series is, where the books are like 1,000-page chunkers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Doesn't he write like historical fantasy?
Yeah, or maybe historical fiction even. I'm not sure if it's all fantasy.
Okay.
Something that's interesting though.
It says that he is a master on the back, so how can you go wrong with that? Ooh, I already see what it is, and I'm excited.
What is it?
The next book is Sufficiently Advanced Magic by Andrew Rowe. I heard of this book a couple years ago, and it's supposed to be a very cool magic system, sort of like Brandon Sanderson. So that has me very excited. I might want to pick this book.
You might have to fight me for it.
But I want it.
Maybe we can read it together.
Yeah. That's a good plan.
Ooh. Next up we have Leviathan Wakes, the first book in the Expanse by James S. A. Corey. Sci-fi series. It's one that I'm excited to get to eventually, and I don't own a copy yet, so maybe this is my opportunity to pick up a copy.
It might be more up your alley. I tried to read it. I couldn't get into it, but you're more of a plot-driven reader, so.
Well, you also didn't like Red Rising and Golden Sun, so I don't know if your taste counts with sci-fi.
She'll never let me live that. Oh,
Never.
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 I DNF'd Golden Sun, and that's like one of her favorite books, so.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, babe.
It's okay. I don't like all of your favorite books either.
Yeah. Stephen King, for example.
No, misery.
Babe.
I like some King though.
You do.
It's not.
You're not like a total King hater.
Yeah.
You're a keeper.
Alright, that's good.
Another book that I've already read, A Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan. I did enjoy this book, but it's not like one of my favorite books or series of all time, but it was enjoyable. You haven't read it, have you?
I have not, no.
Anything else to add there?
Do you think it's going to be my cup of tea?
Probably not.
Alright, fair enough. I'll take your advice.
I mean, it's not really like plot driven. It's more like, because it's written like it's a memoir, because it's a memoir of Lady Trench. And it's basically just her like recounting her story, like her academic story of like trying to find all these dragons.
Okay.
But you could try it out, but I'm not 100% sure it's for you. I don't know.
Fair enough. Oh. Next up we have The Dragon's Path by Daniel Abraham. I'm going to say that again because I messed it up. Hey, don't be messing
Oh, I'm
with
sorry.
the hair.
You gotta look good for the video.
Oh yeah, I don't want to have a noogie.
I don't have that problem.
Next up we have The Dragon's Path by Daniel Abraham. So I actually have not read any Daniel Abraham yet. Not even including The Expanse. But I'd like to at some point.
Yeah, I haven't either, and I think he's more famous, at least on like this corner of BookTube for, what's that series called?
Age of Ash? Or is that the first one?
That's his newer one.
Oh, Long Price Quartet.
Yeah, Long Price Quartet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's more famous for that. I haven't read that, and I've heard this one's pretty good. I think Alan's read it. But yeah.
Well, look who blurbs it.
Oh, well, now I have to read it, because the man himself, George R. R. Martin, blurbed it, so I might have to pick it. I don't know. Another book that I own, Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I have not read this, but I am very excited to read it. Blurbed by one of my favorite authors, Stephen Graham Jones, who I believe is also an indigenous writer, right?
Yeah.
And are you excited to read it?
I have already read it.
Oh yeah, you have read it. What did you think?
It wasn't really my thing. It had a very distinct storytelling style, which I think a lot of readers will enjoy. But for me personally, there was some dubious logic in the middle.
Okay.
That had me questioning, like, does this really make sense? And I just got stuck on that moment and had a hard time with it. And the other thing I didn't love about it is that it kind of ends in the middle of the climax of the story.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, so my advice would be, if you're interested, wait until you at least have an announcement for the second book.
Okay. Well, we're both not picking this book.
Nope.
Definitely not. But I'm sure someone will, though.
Someone will, yeah. Oh, next up we have one of my favorites, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Fantastic sci-fantasy series. The first one is a little rough around the edges compared to the rest of the series, in my opinion.
A little.
Yeah, a little. I mean, it veers towards tropes that are more found in YA, but as you continue the series, you don't really have that problem as much. I think the other main complaint about this first book in particular is that it's first-person perspective, and the main character, Darrow, doesn't necessarily put a lot of emotion into what's happening in this book, but in subsequent books in the series, you definitely can tell how he's feeling.
Not one of my favorites. Oh, well.
Oh, look!
We've both read this book, Bear Town by Frederick Bachman. I didn't have a fantastic time with it just because I kind of knew what what would you call it? The
premise? Or like the heart of the story was? You've been spoiled?
Yeah, I've basically been spoiled by what happens like midway through the book. So the whole time I'm kind of just like anticipating and waiting for it to happen. So I kind of knew what was going to happen. So that kind of ruined my enjoyment level. But I know you loved the book.
I did, but I hadn't been spoiled for it either.
Yeah.
So.
We're not picking that book either.
Well, we both read it. So.
Yeah.
It's a good one though. This also has one of my favorite first lines ever in any book.
I will agree that the first line was good.
Should we read it for the crowd?
Read it, babe.
Late one evening, toward the end of March, a teenager picked up a double-barreled shotgun, walked into the forest, put the gun to someone else's forehead, and pulled the trigger. This is the story of how we got there.
Probably the best part about that book.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, the next book we have is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I've never read any Naomi Novik. Have you before?
I have read Spinning Silver, and I've also read the first 3 books in the Temeraire series.
Okay.
But I have not read Deadly Education yet.
Is it something you're interested in reading?
Possibly. It's set in a magic school. I know that much.
Oh.
I think there's something wrong with the exit of the school, where when you graduate you have to fight your way out. So I believe this first book is a lot more of the main character trying to sort out a possible alliance for graduation day, or a plan of how she's going to get out of the school when she graduates. I've heard it has a lot of exposition, but that the characters are great.
It's probably not something I'm interested in because I'm not a huge fan of fantasy school settings, so probably more up your alley.
Probably, yeah. Next up we've got Tagana by Guy Gavriel Kay.
Another Guy Gavriel Kay book.
I don't know much about this one other than it's supposed to have fantastic prose.
Yeah, fantastic prose, interesting character work, interesting world building. Narsil, one of our buddies on Discord, he's read Guy Gavriel Kay and he says he has very interesting world building. So.
And Narsil loves prose in a book.
Yes, he's a prose snob, where we are not.
Yeah.
Like, we both love Sanderson, and he hates Sanderson's writing. But Guy Gavriel Kay is supposed to have fantastic writing, so I don't want to cover your face, babe.
It's okay.
But yeah, it's something I'm interested in, but I might be more interested in trying his smaller book, because this one is a bit on the chunky side. It's like 700 pages, so I don't know. But it's an option. Ooh.
You're gonna have to put some of these reactions at the beginning of the video.
Oh, just like as a teaser?
Yeah.
You're like,
ooh, what's that?
What's in the box? Okay, so again, I've read this book, but I don't think I have the first book in the series. It's got a long title. The Utterly Uninteresting and Unadventurous Tale of Fred the Vampire Accountant by Drew Hayes. I've read this book, but I listened to it on audio, which the audiobook is great because it's narrated by my favorite narrator, Kirby Hayborn, and he narrates the whole series. I've read the first book, and I really wanted to like kind of binge listen to the series, but I haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, the first book was great. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars, and I want to continue with it. And I have the second book because Sharon gifted it to me, I believe, for my birthday, but I actually don't own the first book, so that might be something I'm interested in.
Fair enough.
Do you have any interest in it?
No. Not as much as you do.
Well, okay.
I know that a lot of our friends love it, like Andrew and Pete.
Yeah.
I've personally tried a different series by Drew Hayes, same author, called NPCs. That's the name of the book. It's like the Sword, Stealth, and something.
Okay.
Really, I can't remember the full name.
Okay.
But I didn't love that as much as I've enjoyed other lit RPG. So I'd let you have it.
Aww. And the last book we have is Lovecraft. Oh, that. Here, why don't you do it? Blah, blah, blah.
And the last book we have is Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff. I personally don't know a whole lot about this one. What about you?
I think I've heard of it. I think it's like, I know there's a HBO show about it, like a adaptation. I think it's like people in the 50s and somehow Lovecraft gets introduced into their world. I think it's supposed to have a lot of like racial undertones, if I believe, but it's not quite something I'm interested in, but I've heard good things about it. And you haven't heard anything about it?
Not really, no.
All right, then. That is all of the books. That's a lot of books.
I guess we have a lot to choose from and make some decisions on.
Yeah, a lot of good options here.
Definitely.
All right, let's do it. Okay, I think we've decided what we're going to take and what we're not going to take. So we're just going to quickly, rapid fire, go through the ones that we're not going to take, including Beartown. We both read it before, so no need to choose that one. Red Rising, we both read it, so no need for that. Black Sun, she's read and I own, so we don't need that. A Natural History of Dragons, I've read it and you're not terribly interested in it, right?
Well, you don't think it's going to be for me anyway, so
No.
that's usually a pretty good indication.
Yeah, and then A Deadly Education, I'm not really interested in, and
I've read 4 Naomi Novik books before and really only loved one of them. And so I think, seeing that I already own a different Naomi Novik that I haven't read yet, I think I'll try that first and then decide whether she's an author I want to keep continuing on with.
it makes sense. And then The Last Dragon Lord by Joanne Burton. I'm not really interested in reading like a very old classic fantasy. I don't think you are either.
It's not generally my cup of tea.
Yeah. And then Tagana by Gabrielle Kay, I might try eventually, but I think I'm going to try the other book that was in the box. And you're not terribly interested either, right?
No.
No? Okay. And then Ken Follett, or Never by Ken Follett. It's not really something I'm terribly interested in either. What about you?
I've never heard of this one, so it's not really grabbing my interest.
Yeah. And then the last one is Lovecraft Country. Again, not terribly interested.
Me either.
Okay. So those are the books that we're not choosing. And now we're going to quickly run through the books that we are going to pick. And then we're going to show y'all the books that we're going to put in the box to replace them. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, so the first book I'm going to pick out of the box is going to be The Summer Tree by Guy Gabriel Kay. I've been interested in trying out his writing, and there was also Tagana, which I know is more popular and more people have read it, but I think I'm more interested in trying a smaller dose of his flowery prose. So that's going to be the first one, and the book I'm going to replace that with is A Memory Called Empire by Arcadia Martine. And I've read this book before, and I thought I was going to be interested in continuing the duology, but I've read this book like a year ago, and it didn't really leave that much of a lasting impression on me. So I don't think I'm going to continue, and that's the one I'm going to replace it with.
So the first one I decided to take out would be The Beast's Heart. I'm always up for more fantasy romance, so I'll give it a whirl and see how it goes. And the first book I'm putting in to replace it is Binti by Nadia Korafor. And the reason I'm putting this in the box is I actually really enjoyed it when I read it, but I loved the audio and would like to continue with the audiobooks instead of the physical copies. So would like to pass this on to somebody else who may not have had a chance to read it yet.
And the next book I'm going to take out is The Utterly Uninteresting and Tales. I've read The Vampire Accountant by Drew Hayes. Like I said, I've read this book before on audio, but I don't own a physical copy, so I'd like to start collecting the physical copies. So that is the first one, or the second one. I can count. I promise.
Are you sure?
You're dating a dummy, babe.
Are you gonna blame me for distracting you again?
You're very distracting.
Well, that's the theme of the week for sure.
Yeah. You're very distracting, but in a good way.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And then the book that I'm replacing that with is the sequel to A Memory Called Empire, called A Desolation Called Peace, in hardcover, also by Arcadia Martine. And like I said, I'm not terribly interested in continuing, seeing as the first book didn't leave a lasting impression on me. I'm sure other people in our group will find it more interesting than I will, so there you go.
So the second book that I decided to take out was My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. So I've read several Bachmans and enjoyed all of them so far, and I'm definitely interested in continuing my journey through his books. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one. And I'm going to replace it with Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. So this is an urban fantasy, I believe, that follows a group of rebel fighters who are hunting down clan members, because in this particular book, clan members are literal monsters.
So it also has a lot of horror elements to it.
Yeah.
I think someone will pick that.
Hopefully.
Maybe Sharon.
It was enjoyable, for sure.
And the next book I'm picking up is The Dragon's Path by Daniel Abraham. Now, the only other Daniel Abraham I've attempted to read was his sci-fi stuff that he co-wrote with
Ty Frank?
Yeah, Ty Frank, which was Leviathan Wakes. And I didn't really have a great time with it, but I've never really tried to read any of his fantasy. And I've heard great things from him from people like Alan. So I'm excited to pick this up and try it. And the one that I'm going to be replacing that with is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Now, I absolutely loved this book. Gave it 5 stars. I thought it was amazing. But the only reason that I'm going to put it in the box is just because it's a hardcover. And I don't like hardcovers. And yeah, I will be eventually replacing it with the paperback. And I'm hoping someone will pick it because it's one of my favorite books that I read last year.
Well, that someone won't be me. Sorry.
That's okay, sweetie.
So the next book that I decided to take out of the box is, of course, Leviathan Wakes. This is a series I've been meaning to get around to for a very long time and just haven't gotten there yet. I think I just need to focus on wrapping up some of the series I already have ongoing before I start too many more, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting to it. And I'm going to be replacing that one with The Tiger's Daughter by Kate Arsenault Rivera. So this I picked up from my local used bookstore and was interested in it until I heard a lot of reviews that said it was very slow, which has me a little concerned because as somebody who likes a fast-paced plot and likes to be pulled into the story and not have to wait for payoff, I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about this one. But I think someone else in our group will enjoy it a lot more than I will. And also, the ebook copy is available on Scribd for me up in Canada, so I can always try it out there.
There you go. And the last book that I'm picking out is Sufficiently Advanced Magic by Andrew Rowe. Like I said, I've heard of this book a couple years ago, and I've heard great things about it. It's kind of written like Sanderson, like his magic system is very Sanderson-like, and it's got a good plot from what I hear, so I'm very interested to give it a whirl. And the one that I will be replacing that with is Billy Summers by Stephen King. Now, y'all are probably wondering, why am I getting rid of a King book? But like I said, it's a hardcover. I will eventually be replacing it with a paperback, and I'm hoping that a certain someone will pick it up and really enjoy it. And that certain someone is Andrew.
Absolutely. I was gonna say, that's totally in there for Andrew, isn't it?
Yeah. You better pick it, Andrew, or I will be upset.
Maybe a little heartbroken.
Yeah.
So the last one that I decided to pull out of the box is The Dark That Dwells. So this is one I've been meaning to get to for a while as well. In fact, I think we were supposed to buddy read it last year and we just got sidetracked because we had such busy TBRs.
Yeah.
But I was going to read the ebook copy and now I'm going to have a physical copy to read. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
and I'm going to be replacing it with Green Rider by Kristen Britton. So this is one that I've read and enjoyed. It follows Kerrigan, who is a young girl who gets expelled from her school, and she's on her way home when suddenly she runs into a rider who's been impaled by arrows, who on his deathbed begs her to deliver a very important message to the king, and it's the story of how that adventure continues.
Okay, so I think that about wraps it up, and we're going to show off what we got.
Yeah, very excited to get to some of these.
Pretty-
Well, all of these.
Yes, just some of these. All right, thanks everyone for watching this video, and thank you to my lovely girlfriend Stacey for joining me.
Aw, you're welcome. It was fun for me.
And
And I got books out of the deal.
Yeah, hopefully you got some good books.
I'm happy with them.
I'm happy with you.
Aw, I'm happy with you too.
I'm so glad you're here.
Aw, me too. It's been great visiting you.
Awesome. All right, that about wraps it up. Please like and subscribe, and yeah.
Let us know what you thought of our picks.
Yes. Have you guys read any of these books that we picked? Please let us know all about that in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for joining. Bye.